Hey, what's up, man?
Daniel,
How's it going?
what's up, man? Can you hear me?
As an award-winning documentary filmmaker, Matt D'Avella is undoubtedly one of the most talented creators on YouTube. It feels like only yesterday when I was watching his videos almost every week whilst working as a full-time architectural assistant and grinding out my third and final architecture degree. But now, as a content creator, it's weird to say the least that I've been able to get to know Matt personally. When it comes to filmmaking, he is without a doubt a Jedi Master, so as a mere Padawan, I couldn't help but be reminded about what the rapper J. Cole said about Jay-Z in a Steve LaBelle interview. He said, Jay was his mentor before he ever signed him because he studied his moves that much, and despite my inability to spit fire, I couldn't help but relate to this because when I was starting out on YouTube, Matt was one of those creators that I studied that much, and after getting to know him a little better, I thought I'd give him a call to see what he thinks about the relationship between mentorship and creativity.
Hey, what's up, man?
Daniel,
How's it going?
what's up, man? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you well. How's it on your side?
Cool, just got you. Yeah, good, man.
It's good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you again. I feel like we've been chatting like every week now.
I know, right? It was only the other day. How's your day been going?
Today's been pretty busy. I mean, I've been we're doing a lot of hiring now, and so like for the longest time I've been just a solo creator, with the help of freelancers from time to time, but now we just decided to go all in and hire some people, and so we're like, let's just find people that are really great at what they do, and then mold the team to fit in the right way. So fingers crossed it works.
Yeah, I bet you guys had a bunch of applications to sort through. It's like a lot of people's dream job. I was like, man, I kind of want to apply.
Yeah, it's so funny because like I talked to like some friends like Danny Gervitz, and like I'm like asking them like, oh, do you know anybody who might be like a good fit for this role? And then he's like, dude, I would have taken this role in a heartbeat a year ago, but then now he's like got hundreds of thousands of subscribers and whatnot, and so I'm like, oh damn it, because like you guys would be amazing. But I mean, it's amazing that you guys are doing such awesome things now too. That's been a cool experience. I know that's actually kind of what we're even talking about, but it's for me that's been really cool because like I wasn't an OG YouTuber. I started in 4 or 5 years ago. Even at that time, I thought I was too late to get started. But like since that time, being able to see other creators pop off after my channel grew has just been really cool. Cause like I see some of like the beginnings, like those first videos that take off, or I see somebody at like 20,000 subscribers and I'm like, oh man, I think they're going to go places. And then, next minute they've got 100,000, 200,000. It's like, there's a part of chance, there's a part of luck to it. But like, it's really not that much based on luck. If you're really great, if you really like work your butt off and make awesome content and do it consistently, it's kind of hard not to make a dent.
Yeah, I think like the whole idea of like being inspired by creators, and even what you were saying about luck, before we jumped on this call, we were talking a little bit about J. Cole and his experience. Like, I know he's like, a superstar rapper and I'm kind of like relating it to my meager existence on YouTube. But I kind of can relate to that in like a certain sense because I studied your work so much, and even though like I'm nowhere near like the level of J. Cole, but it's like there's this aspect of really studying the people you admire in order to improve and learn. And I suppose I'm just curious, when you were coming up in terms of your filmmaking career and on YouTube as well, like did you have people who really inspired you?
Yeah, well, first of all, I gotta say, like, I love J. Cole as well. He's an incredible artist, and like I feel that same like sense of like synchronicity between what he often talks about and kind of what I'm experiencing and going through as a creator. And it feels trivial. It's like, yeah, but like I'm not doing something as cool as J. Cole, but like I think it just like transcends the medium. Like anybody who's kind of going through that process of trying to build something from nothing is going to be able to relate to that struggle. For me, getting started out as a filmmaker, I definitely pulled like tons of inspiration from other people. There was actually a local filmmaker that went to my high school. His name was Steve Bogda. And he was like he's an incredibly talented filmmaker, and he was like doing really creative things with cameras back in the day before you had DSLR cameras and you could switch lenses. Like you would essentially have like that one stock lens on a Canon XH-A1 camera. These are camcorders, you know? It's not much of a step up from a Sony Handycam that people use to just like film like family home videos. But he was being like really creative with it and like filming just even like footage in Philadelphia, footage in his backyard, and like color grading it really beautifully and shooting these crime scene, almost comedy sketches. And I remember just like watching those and just being blown away by the amount of talent that he had and what he was able to do with a very similar camera to mine. I was like, what the heck? I have that camera, but I can't do that. And so then I just like, I copied him and I tried to mimic some of the style that he brought into those videos. And then from there, it's like you have that inspiration, the people that you mimic and kind of learn from. And there were certainly many others that I got inspired by during that time. I think like Vimeo was really huge in terms of like artisan beautiful films. And like, yeah, they're still around and they still do similar stuff. But back in the day, it was like YouTube was like the silly prank videos and like the over the top sketches. And then Vimeo was where artists went. And so like you'd watch the Vimeo staff picks and you'd be like, oh my God, like those films are so beautiful. And so you try to like pull some of that for inspiration. Then when I got to YouTube, I think I was at a point in my filmmaking career that I had developed a style, I had developed a certain tone. It wasn't natural for me at first to translate the documentary filmmaking experience and the client experience I had as a freelance filmmaker into YouTube. Like that wasn't obvious, and you can see that right from some of the early videos. I think I was just trying to do the vloggy thing. Maybe I'd seen some Casey Neistat videos and I'm like, oh, that's how you create on this platform. And it wasn't really for a year on YouTube until I just took a stab at just bringing my own style to it. It's nothing revolutionary in terms of like filmmaking, right? I'm utilizing the same tools that filmmakers have been using for decades. But I think it was certainly within the self-development space, unused and untapped. Like people weren't really telling documentary stories like that. If somebody was going to be talking about a cold shower, like taking cold showers, they were setting up their iPhone and they were talking to camera about their experience of taking cold showers for 30 days. But then what I tried to do was like, what if I actually turn this into a documentary and I follow myself along on this journey for 30 days? And again, like I'm sure it had been done before that, but I, brought my background of like 8 to 10 years of cinematography experience and like storytelling experience, and also like injected some humor and my own personality into it to try to tell that story in a different way. And I think that's what started to resonate for me personally with my videos.
100%. It's really interesting kind of what you're saying, like, and how you kind of, copied that early filmmaker in a sense. And it just kind of reminded me of that quote. I think it's a Salvador Dali quote, which says, "Those who don't imitate anything produce nothing." And I don't know, I just find that really interesting, like the idea of imitation when you're really like fresh and starting out. Like a lot of time you have absolutely no idea. Like I was coming as an architect, with absolutely no idea when it comes to filmmaking and kind of having to learn the whole thing myself. And I was just like, I immediately jumped on YouTube and looked at some of my favorite creators, you mainly, and seeing, how your style of video was so inspiring and appealing to watch. But I think the thing that always like troubles me, and I've seen circumstances of this on YouTube where people are just like, oh, like you're just a Peter McKinnon ripoff or you're a Matt D'Avella ripoff. And I think there's a fine line between imitation and like plagiarism and copying. Like what would you think, like what would you say is the difference between, like copying someone and imitating someone, and like what do you think are the best ways to kind of strike that balance, as a young creator for anyone starting out?
That's a really good question. I think like certainly when you're just getting started out and you're learning the tools and you're learning how to tell stories as a filmmaker, copy what other people are doing, but give credit as much as you can. And so like within that video or videos, whatever, like just reference that person. You might even like put it in the comments. Like if I do a personal finance video and a lot of the advice I got was from Ramit Sethi or Dave Ramsey or any of these guys or girls, I want to make sure that I'm actually giving credit to those people because they help to influence my perspective on personal finance. And so when you're starting out, when you're just learning, copy other people, imitate their style, make a parody of one of your favorite creators to really like figure out how to like create videos like them. But then I encourage those people, once they've gotten the basics, and of course, once they're making sure that they're giving credit through those experiences, they stop consuming so much content. Like, people consume way too much content. I get it, because people create on YouTube oftentimes because they're fans of the platform. But if you take too much inspiration from other people, then you're not going to be able to create something original and something unique and distinct, and that's all your own. And so I know that comedians do this a lot. Like, they don't like watching other comedians. They don't watch that new special. Even though they grew up being fans of comedy, once they became a professional, they realized that, hey, if I watch 50 Netflix comedy specials every year, that may influence my act. I might start trying to copy them or pretending to be them. I might accidentally steal a piece or a bit from their works, because like, you watch so much and then you forgot what you even knew, and then an idea comes to you and you're like, oh, that's brilliant. But then you forgot that you actually had seen that maybe 6 months or a year earlier. And so like, I actually try my best not to consume much YouTube content at all. There are times when I do, and I dabble in there. I would prefer to like listen to a podcast or read a book, because I'm not going to be stealing anything. If anything, I'll reference, an author in a video I make. But yeah, it's like especially if you want to kind of make an impact and you want to be original. And I think to a degree, being original is like learning from the best and the people that you admire, and then trying to forget everything that you've learned to develop your own style and your own sense of creation.
There's a quote from Socrates that goes, "Smart people learn from everything and everyone. Average people learn from their experiences. Stupid people already have all the answers." Listening to Matt, it's clear to see that humility and learning from others constitutes a huge part of our growth, regardless of whether we're filmmakers, designers, or simply trying to lead a more intentional lifestyle, or even just make small improvements to our homes. We actually talked a lot more about minimalism, zero waste, hip hop, and fatherhood. So in case you're interested in watching the entire conversation, you can check it out over on Nebula, which you can get for free with the sponsor of today's video, CuriosityStream. Nebula is a streaming platform that's free from the YouTube algorithm, so it provides creators the freedom to post content like this conversation, which doesn't have to cater to clickbait, ads, and short attention spans. Because of this, every time I post to YouTube, I post ad-free extended versions of my videos to Nebula, as well as exclusive content like this raw conversation with Matt. The sponsor of today's video, CuriosityStream, have teamed up with Nebula so that when you sign up to CuriosityStream, you get access to both of these incredible platforms, and you get a 26% discount, so it works out at just $14.79 for an entire year. For that, you get CuriosityStream's enormous catalogue of highly polished documentaries, which include thousands of titles like those presented by David Attenborough and Derek Muller, as well as Nebula's ad-free and extended content from myself and other creators on YouTube. If you sign up to CuriosityStream using my code and the link in the description, you'll get a welcome email providing you with automatic access to both platforms, and it's also a great way to support the channel and get access to my full conversation with Matt, as well as some other pretty awesome videos like the one that Mary Spender made of her apartment tour, which I also have a little feature in. Thanks CuriosityStream for supporting the channel, and now back to the video. When you think about it, as children, the only way we learn is by mimicking others. We mimic our parents, our siblings, our friends, and unfortunately, even the things that we see on TV, which is probably something that you may be familiar with if you've ever had a cousin with a Power Rangers obsession. Learning through mimicking others is the reason that we talk, think, and sound the way that we do. It's how we get our accents, and it's the way that we learn to behave in social situations. And we often shape who we are around what we're exposed to in order to be accepted by a certain society or group of people. From my observation, in our careers, this is also how things start out too. And when I was studying to become an architect, we were actually encouraged to study the work of others in order to gain insight for our own designs. And this is something that has really stuck with me throughout the years. By studying the work of others, this is how our taste develops. And it's through practice and the insights that we glean through these observations that we can improve our abilities so that they can match our good taste by closing what Ira Glass calls the taste gap. If you're starting a blog, a business, or a YouTube channel, we learn through observing the paths of those who've gone before us. However, people get this wrong by simply observing without taking a step back to analyze how it was done. It's easy and even entertaining to mindlessly consume content like Matt's work or browse the incredible designs that you see in magazines, but it takes a different way of thinking to proactively take a step back to reverse engineer how that thing was created and understand the special sauce that makes it so good. It's important to be clear that plagiarism is straight up wrong, and it's imperative to make that distinction. But this topic is essentially what Austin Kleon talks about in his best-selling books Still Like an Artist and Show Your Work. I believe when you reverse engineer the work of others, you can make them your mentors regardless of whether you know them or not. And if you have a healthy work ethic and you practice what you've learned, I believe it's a powerful combination, as when you're inspired by others and you unashamedly show your work as you grow, it's one of the most powerful ways that you can improve. There's no questioning that imitation is the foundation of a child's growth, and I think that even in adulthood we learn in similar ways. But when you're a child, there's only so much real value that you can bring to the world because you're lacking in authenticity. Despite reverse engineering being a great way to learn, learning from our mentors only serves as a foundation for our own originality, as these new skills provide a launchpad for our own authenticity. Finally, before we wrap up this video, I just thought that I'd update you as to why this setup is looking a little bit different. We're actually in Vancouver now, visiting Nisha's family for some time, so this is a new challenge for me and you can expect things to be a little bit different for the next few videos. Hopefully you guys took something valuable away from this one, and if you did, it would mean a lot if you drop a like and leave a comment down below, and make sure that you go and show Matt some love over on his channel too. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.